There is nothing more tantalizing to the human species than a good mystery. Thrillers in the forms of novels, movies, and even campfire tales are often consumed by the thousands who love the adrenaline rush of solving a mystery. However, some of the most pervasive mysteries are those that occur in real life, and these are the ones that are often most difficult to solve. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at mysterious discoveries. Drone finds a lost tomb with 72 ancient skeletons. On Canary Island, a drone has found a lost tomb with about 72 ancient skeletons. The tomb contains the remains of ancient people thought to be from a probably lost pre-Hispanic civilization. It was discovered by a group of amateur archaeologists around the holiday island of Gran Canaria. These mummified remains belonged to natives of the Guanche society. The discovery was made possible through the use of a drone. The drone was deployed by a team of researchers who are members of the amateur archaeology group called El Legado. This group was formed by Ayoze Himar Gonzalez, Joné Garcia, and Jesus Diaz. This team of archaeologists deployed their drones on a research mission, which somehow and unexpectedly led to the discovery of the cave through the drones. Gonzalez, one of the members of the team, described how they were able to make this discovery. He said, "We were flying a drone and we took some pictures of the cave. It is in a very difficult place to access, and you need to climb a cliff to reach the site. People thought the photos were fake because of all the bones there." This amazing discovery at the island of Gran Canaria consisted of 62 adult skeletons and 10 newborns. They were discovered in a ravine on the island, which is part of the Spanish Canary Islands. Archaeologists confirmed this discovery and have tried to link them to the Guanche civilization. They have also tried to date these ancient remains and were able to date them back to between 800 and 1000 AD. The ancient people of Guanche were believed to be the original inhabitants of the Canary Islands, and it is believed that the people of Guanche migrated from North Africa. Many historians believe that the people of Guanche were accepted into the Spanish society, who later integrated them both ethnically and culturally into the Spanish settlement. This was after they settled and colonized small islands. One of the archaeologists supervising the discovery, Veronica Alberto, told local media the following: "There are many burial caves in Gran Canaria, but not many like this one. The discovery of the newborn remains is important as they were not included in previous findings until very recently. We now know they can be found in these types of cave burials." Archaeologists subsequently went down to the burial site and discovered traditional burial shrouds that were made partly from some vegetable fibers and some animal skins. Alberto further added that we can confirm that all the pre-Hispanic people in the Canary Islands were prepared the same way for the burial ceremony. Archaeologists dug as far as 75 feet below sea level to reach the tomb, only to discover more than 5 dozen skeletal remains that have now been analysed and studied. The cave was discovered back in June 2019, but they did not make any report about it, because they feared if they reported it, the facility might be vandalised. But 1 year after the discovery, they announced to the general public that they had begun work on the site. Gonzalez further explained that the cave should be closed off and preserved with the bones left there to respect the site. "We decided to report it because we want the local authorities to preserve and respect it." Hidden rooms in the Great Pyramid. Almost 4,500 years ago, between 2509 BC and 2483 BC, the pharaoh Khufu was ruler of ancient Egypt. During this time, Pharaoh Khufu ordered the creation of the Great Pyramid, a monumental display of power. Built completely for himself, the pyramid itself has more than a 13-acre base and originally had a 479-foot-tall peak. The construction of the Great Pyramid is astonishing. Over 2.3 million blocks of limestone were quarried, cut to specific measurements, and then placed into the formation we know today. The Great Pyramid is regarded as one of the wonders of the ancient world.
In 2017, scientists studying the pyramid announced that they had found a previously unknown void inside of the pyramid that's estimated to be around 30 meters long. The last time any kind of big structure inside the pyramid was discovered was in the 1800s. This new void was found using a process called muon radiography. This method utilizes cosmic rays to locate voids or cavities inside of structures. This new discovery is being compared to the previously discovered Grand Gallery of the pyramid. The Grand Gallery is a 150-foot-long corridor that goes directly to the burial room of Khufu, the pharaoh that commissioned this marvel of the ancient world. This corridor is also around 26 feet tall and sits below the newly discovered area. Still, it is completely unknown what or if anything lies within this area and what it was used for. It could be several smaller rooms or one large area we simply do not know. This discovery is still huge. It brings us closer to finally being able to understand and even just know the various intricacies of this truly astonishing structure. This discovery was made by the Scan Pyramids project working with the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities and is widely regarded as the most impressive achievement of the technique used to find it. We know this large void exists, but we really know nothing else about it. Hopefully it will potentially validate any ideas of exploring the Great Pyramid further, and hopefully understanding it better, maybe further exploration will uncover more secrets. Thermal mystery of the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid or Great Pyramid of Giza is home to many mysteries. Because of this, many researchers, scientists, and archaeologists are constantly examining and studying it. Before our previously mentioned discovery in 2017, there was a whole series of studies going on, but in 2015, whilst conducting thermal examinations of the Great Pyramid, researchers discovered that 3 stones located at the bottom of the pyramid were at a higher temperature than any of the others. Whilst this discovery itself is truly puzzling, it could be the result of a variety of different factors, from differing air currents inside the pyramid, even more small undiscovered areas, or perhaps an anomalous building material which could indicate repairs or strength carried out thousands of years ago. The team of scientists and researchers came from around the globe to carry out these thermal tests. The tests themselves are just as interesting, as they would examine and carry out testing during different times of the day to test different theories. The morning around sunrise was a specific time the researchers would carry out scans whilst the sun was beaming onto the limestone blocks and heating them up. They would then carry out the same scans, but in the evening around sunset once the same limestone blocks were cooling down. They continued these tests until they found the aforementioned anomaly of the 3 limestone blocks in particular that would display a difference of around 6 degrees compared to the rest of the block, which would at most show a temperature difference of around 0.1 to 0.5 degrees between sunrise and sunset. This difference in temperature is quite puzzling when compared to the minimal difference of the rest. These affected blocks in question were located on the east side of the pyramid. This could well have something to do with why they are anomalies, but for now this remains a mystery. Salyut 7 Angels. In July of 1984, cosmonauts on the Soviet space station Salyut 7 reported seeing a strange orange light. The space station was suddenly surrounded by the light, and it even came through the walls of the station. The light was so bright, the crew temporarily went blind. Once they regained their vision, they looked through the portholes for the source of the orange light. They thought there may have been an explosion somewhere since the Salyut 7 had experienced fires and other types of emergencies already, but they found nothing of the sort. Instead, the cosmonauts claimed to have seen 7 angels floating around right outside the station. They said the angels looked similar to humans, but with wings and halos. The angels stayed close to the space station for another 10 minutes. Then they disappeared. 12 days later, a team from the Soyuz T-12 spacecraft joined the Salyut 7 crew. Just a short time later, they saw the same orange light. The light surrounded the space station, and they saw the angels outside again. This time, the crew said that the angels were as big as an airliner. The Soviet Union decided that this discovery should remain top secret, and they ordered the crew not to tell anyone what they saw. Some tried to dismiss these claims by saying that the crew were hallucinating. After all, they had been in the space station for 155 days when they first saw the angels, so they were stressed and probably exhausted. Some believe hallucinations could have also been caused by a lack of oxygen and pressure fluctuations. But how could they all have the same hallucinations? This also doesn't explain how the second crew saw the angels, since they hadn't been there long. It has also been suggested that similar sightings have been secretly reported by many other Russian cosmonauts as well. The origins of human beings. Religion versus science is a never-ending debate when it comes to the topic of the creation of life on Earth. Ancient civilizations did not have the same concept of religion as we do in the modern day, but they did have gods and divine theories of creation. The Sumerians were spiritual people, and whilst much of their civilization was based upon never-before-seen advances in human society, they did believe strongly in the all-being and all-seeing. In fact, the Sumerians split themselves into cities, each guarded by a god, of which they had many. The Sumerian myth of the creation of the world, referred to at the time as the Enuma Elish, refers to human gods ruling the earth as it began. They did the labor that was required to make the world suitable for human civilization, such as mining minerals and cultivating the soil. The tablet upon which the myth is inscribed was discovered in 1849 by English archaeologist Austen Henry Lanyard. It lay in the ruins of the Library of Ashurbanipal, which was located in northern Iraq, thought to be part of the area of the Middle East that Sumerian civilization grew from. The first lines on the tablet alluded to the idea of the gods ruling and that they would cultivate the earth, saying, "When in the height heaven was not named, and the earth beneath did not yet bear a name, and the primeval Apsu who begat them, and Chaos, Tiamat, the mother of them both, their waters were mingled together, and no field was formed, no marsh was to be seen, when of the gods none had been called into being, and none bore a name, and no destinies were ordained. Then were created the gods in the midst of heaven. Lamu and Lahamu were called into being." But the tablet explains that the gods quickly grew tired of their labor, and Anu, the god of the gods, decided that they needed a hand. They then created man to labor for them by sacrificing a good and mixing his blood with clay. This is an idea that the Sumerians believed in devoutly, as they truly viewed themselves as slaves to the gods. The Sumerian myth then draws parallels with Christianity, saying that the first man was created in Eden. This was the garden referred to in the Epic of Gilgamesh that was home to the gods. However, some of the gods realized that humans could not reproduce, and thus gave them the ability to do so. But this did not go down well between the gods, and a conflict ensued between them. Scholars point to similarities between this story and that of Adam and Eve, but it's not been verified as to whether this served as a basis for the Christian story. As such, the intrigue surrounding the creation of life goes on. The federal government will put you up in this haunted ghost town if you dare. One town tucked away in Montana attracts a diverse audience, from the avid historian to the bored summer tourist and fans of the paranormal alike. Garnet, once a thriving mountain town, can be described as nothing more than a ghost town, one with literal ghosts at that. Garnet is the most well-preserved ghost town in Montana. An economic boom in the 19th century, as gold mines and silver mines were uncovered, saw the population massively swell. The town grew, and the numbers came pouring in. That is, at least, until the 1940s, when the mines had been exhausted. Once again, Garnet housed a small population as the hustle and bustle filtered out. Today, if you stop by Garnet, the only people you will see are tourists and volunteers. Volunteers give tours, sell souvenirs, and lend a helping hand towards maintenance. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management selects who the lucky few will be, as they enjoy a break away from modern civilization. No electronics, no Wi-Fi, no running water. That being said, volunteers do enjoy a cabin that's nestled in the area. Ranger Nakoma Gainan described the town as primitive, but explained the volunteer system is for the outdoorsy types, stating, There are trails to explore, artifacts to inspect. However, the history of the town has become only half the reason to visit Garnet. Some have suggested that the spirits and the presence of the former residents come to life in the evenings and the winter months. Garnet has been victim to reports of a piano being played in the night, and the melody sounding from a building presumed empty. Reports of unearthly noises and otherwise vague descriptions of visions and sounds that set one on edge. In the winter and autumn months, visitors have been known to describe people dressed in dated clothing, old-fashioned and somewhat transparent. There are footprints seen in the snow entering buildings, but never any going in the opposite direction, regardless as to how long ago the snow last began to fall. Some report a woman simply staring from the upstairs room window at the Garnet Hotel. Ellen Baumler, a ghost whisperer with the Montana Historical Society, commented, "They cause no trouble, and anyone who visits the deserted town in the mid of winter should be prepared to meet them." She goes on to explain that the ghostly activity within Garnet is no secret, and that these entities are known throughout the area, saying that any historian researching the town is well aware of this. Despite the locals all being clued in on the town's ghostly history, the website only shines a light on the snapshot of American history preserved within the town, and does not mention any signs of paranormal guests. Would you dare to visit Garnet? And would you rent a cabin in winter when the past residents are said to really come to life? Artificial intelligence could not crack the code. In 2018, artificial intelligence endeavoured to figure out the 600-year-old code, though even the AI could not reliably figure out what this code said. The Voynich manuscript appears to contain between 25 and 30 characters, as interpretations have been varied, and is written from left to right by a single hand. It is made up of 102 parchment folios, meaning it reaches approximately an astounding 234 pages in length. This objective information is minimal and does not necessarily aid in solving the mystery as to the original language the manuscript was written in. The manuscript is written in an unidentified language, using an alphabet that has not been seen elsewhere prior to the manuscript's discovery or after it was found. Many believe it has been written using a substitution cipher. This involves the letters of an existing language being exchanged for made-up letters to create a code. Typically, a substitution cipher is considered the simplest code, and is one of the oldest methods of encrypting a text. If it really is such a simple code, then why haven't scientists been able to translate the manuscript? Scientists have no idea what the original language is to begin figuring out where the substitutions have been made. Bradley Hauer and Gregor Kondrak aimed to use computational analysis in order to find a country the text may have originated from, or a language it was written in. Numerous algorithms were trained to pick up the statistical fingerprint of the text and compare it to existing, established languages to attempt to find a match. Factors such as the frequency of each letter and combinations of letters were used. Hauer and Kondrak began using this software on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They input 380 languages. This trial appeared to work and be successful, so they moved forward with their research. A computational linguist at Illinois Institute of Technology stated that the results were in debate, but not more so than many other results often published in the scientific literature. The next step in their artificial intelligence testing and research was for Kondrak and Hauer to apply these algorithms to the infamous Voynich manuscript. But this was where the pair began to encounter numerous issues. The initial obstacle is that the algorithm was trained to trace modern languages. The evolution of languages regarding vocabulary, grammar, syntax, and spelling is massive, and so languages we use today are incredibly different to the same languages in the late medieval or early modern societies, which is when the manuscript was traced back to in the 15th century. Another problematic element of the AI research is that while suggestions are made for the closest matches, the probability of this being a match is not considered. Kondrak and Hauer claimed to have discovered the source language, Hebrew, through their algorithm. However, this was the closest match of the 380 languages they inputted, but was not a certain match. Other matches that were considered close, for example Malay, are drastically different from Hebrew, and so the validity of this algorithm may be deemed very low. The lack of evaluation regarding how likely each language is means that Hebrew may have been the closest match available, but not necessarily similar enough to the source language for a substitution code. The final hurdle, and perhaps the factor that is a deal-breaker in the validity of their research, is that Kondrak and Hauer suggested the Voynich manuscript is written using not only a substitution cipher, but that it was also written in anagrams, having the letters within each word jumbled up too. Whilst this has been suggested before, it is certainly not a proven fact, just a theory. Kondrak and Hauer used Google Translate, which has a reputation for forcing nonsensical words and phrases into coherent, fluent sentences. Despite all the indicators that their work should be and would be disregarded, Kondrak and Hauer claimed the first sentence of the Voynich manuscript to be as follows: "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me and people." The sensationalist media headlines stated that the Voynich manuscript had been deciphered and translated, and while we may have been drawn closer, the flawed methodology of Kondrak and Hauer's work means the translation holds little weight. Maybe future artificial intelligence can solve this mystery, but for now, we still don't know. The mysterious plants, codes, and astronomical signs that feature in the book. Perhaps even more puzzling than the mysterious Voynich language appears to be written in are the bizarre illustrations, doodles, and diagrams that accompany the unknown writing. Images included in the manuscript depict strange plants, astrological diagrams, castles, dragons, and perhaps the most puzzling image, an unclothed woman in what appears to be a bath. While some outlandish theories suggest ancient water park designs, others suggest medicinal information or even alien technology. One theory, posed by Dr. Cheshire, a linguist at Bristol University, suggested it was a manual covering relationships and parenting, written in a code based off of a proto-Romantic language. Dr. Cheshire believes it aligns with the Catholic and Roman pagan beliefs held by many Mediterranean Europeans in the 15th century. Dr. Cheshire states that he believed the Voynich manuscript was written by Dominican nuns. Bristol University commented, following media coverage, concerns have been raised about the validity of this research, and went on to ensure it is known that Dr. Cheshire's work is not affiliated with the university. However, perhaps the most common guess is that the Voynich manuscript details medical information. Medicine in the early modern and medieval periods contained lots of myths. Herbal remedies were common, explaining the plant diagrams, and many believed there was a correlation between the position of the stars and individuals' health, hence zodiac images being included. Furthermore, a bath was thought to cure many illnesses, explaining the image of the unclothed woman bathing. This suggests that health and medicine is a common factor between a fair few of the illustrations in the Voynich manuscript. The medicinal theory has been suggested by many, one of whom is historian Nicholas Gibbs in 2017. He offered the suggestion that the images centered health for the reasons just mentioned, but also that the manuscript was a pseudo-scientific women's health manual. He, like many others, claimed to have solved the code, and believed the absurdly complex codes were Latin abbreviations, and that the Voynich manuscript was written in common shorthand that would have been understood in the 15th century, and was not code that needed to be broken. His work was heavily criticised and ultimately discredited because Nicholas Gibbs either reiterated ideas people before him had suggested and his own theories, the translated sentences made little to no grammatical sense in Latin. The dismissal of Nicholas Gibbs's research ultimately means the contents of the Voynich manuscript remain a mystery, but the bizarre images seem to have an underlying theme. The Voynich manuscript appears to be split into 7 distinct sections. Botanical, containing imagery of herbs and plants. Astronomical, with pictures such as the sun, moon, and stars. Cosmological, illustrated with circular geometric designs. The zodiac section, containing drawings of the zodiac signs. Biological, which has depictions of unclothed women in various baths. Pharmaceutical, with images of containers and herbs side by side. And finally, the recipe section, which contains no illustrations, merely lines of text with stars in the margin. These theories are simply based upon where certain images lie within the text. As of today, the manuscript remains a mystery. The more time that passes, the more speculation and rumours continue to grow, and every few years we can be sure someone new will step forward announcing that they have found a new translation. But with so many experts eager to add to the research, such claims are often quickly refuted. Great minds are puzzled by the nature of the Voynich manuscript. The Cold War saw the involvement of the FBI, fearing it was a coded form of communist propaganda, and still no solution or understanding was found. Will we ever figure out this impossible code? Arguably the world's most mysterious book, allegedly figured out over and over, and still nobody can read it. Linguists, historians, and cryptographers have puzzled over it for centuries and will continue to do so until we solve this mystery. What lies within the Voynich manuscript? An angel saves a dying daughter. It is difficult to believe things that are beyond our imagination. The word of mouth isn't the best evidence in our contemporary society, and even photographic proof is doubted. But every so often, a video appears that takes the world by storm. In this case, a teenage girl by the name of Chelsea Banton, aged 15, had a fatal case of pneumonia, laying in a hospital bed as the life faded from her eyes. Her condition kept worsening until the doctors decided that the time had come to take her off life support. The moment that her loved ones surrounded her to say their farewells, the nurses in charge of security cameras began to panic. Ms. Banton, Chelsea's mother, rushed to see what was going on. The monitors revealed an astonishing white light that appeared to be an angel, which stood by Chelsea's hospital room. Chelsea's mother immediately prayed that this was an angel coming to save her daughter from her sickness, or to deliver her to heaven if her time had come. Ms. Banton took a photograph of the monitor, and within minutes a miracle happened. Chelsea, who was so close to passing away, was restored. Her health returned to her on swift wings. The family was convinced that this was a blessed act of God, that he sent an angel to protect Chelsea from passing away. However, it's challenging to determine whether this theory is accurate, or whether it can even be considered real at all. In the past, humans had a tendency to blindly believe whimsical things with little evidence. But we live in a society focused primarily on logic and science. Still, miracles happen every day, many of which cannot easily be explained by the reasoning science offers, because we still know far too little. The unknown will always exist, and the more answers we gather, the more questions we'll have. Did an angel save Chelsea Banton, or was it a mere coincidence? If it wasn't an angel, what else could it have been? How could she have suddenly got better after being so frail? Could this really have been something divine? Iwona Wieczorek. It was the 17th of July 2010 in Spot, Poland. In the early morning light, 19-year-old Iwona Wieczorek makes a final call to her friend Adria. Earlier that night, the girls were out celebrating their completion of high school, attending a party not far from their home. Adria convinced Iwona to leave and to continue their partying at a nearby nightclub, Dream Club. Not long after midnight, they arrived at the club, along with 3 of Adria's male friends, Paul, Adrian, and Mark. After an argument with the men, Iwona stormed out, determined to walk the almost 4 miles home. Texts from her phone indicate she was angry her friend did not follow her out of the club after the argument. There were several calls made to Adria. The last one occurred at around 4 a.m, in which Adria had apologised for the incident at the club. Iwona confessed she wasn't in a state to be seen at home, still drunk from all the partying. Adria informed Iwona she would leave her keys outside of her apartment if she wanted to come to stay with her. CCTV easily tracked Iwona's path, having been seen on several different cameras. Barefoot and alone, she headed towards the neighbourhood that she and Adria lived in. Needless to say, Iwona never arrived. Later that day, After awakening and finding her keys where she had left them, Adria contacted Ivona's family to check that she had made it home. Although she was reported missing, authorities claimed Ivona was capable enough to make it home and could have stayed at another friend's house. It was a week before the disappearance of Ivona was taken seriously. During the last few seconds of the video captured of Ivona, a man was seen walking behind her. He was possibly the last known person to see her alive. Even though his picture and sketches were widely circulated, no one ever stepped forward claiming to be the man. And he was never identified. In 2014, Adria and one of the men from the club were interviewed regarding the disappearance. Although both of them corroborated the time Ivona left the club, neither of them could maintain eye contact with the camera. And though they seemed to remember the time of her leaving, not one of them could remember what the argument was about. This strange behaviour has led some to believe that perhaps Adria and the men know more about her disappearance than they were telling. In Poland, Ivona's disappearance has not faded away. Some 12,000 pages on a forum remain active searching for Ivona, sharing pictures of her and asking for someone to step forward. Some fear she has been sold into human trafficking. Even with hundreds of people from the area interviewed, no sign of Ivona has ever turned up. The Black Mountain. Known as Kalkajaka by the indigenous peoples living there, Black Mountain has its fair share of haunted stories and legends. This mountain is situated along the Trefethen Range in northern Queensland. It is made up of many giant granite boulders. Kalkajaka translates to spear and was named for the last battleground between the inland and coastal clans as they fought for hunting grounds. It is a massive graveyard for their fallen warriors, and is believed to be a place where devils and spirits wander about. The indigenous peoples in this area are taught to respect the mountain and actively avoid going there. They believe that you will get very sick if you visit it and that the spirits living there will torment you. The legends say that there are dark forces at work within the mountain, so they do not like when people visit it. Once settlers started arriving to colonize the lands in the 1800s, they also added onto these legends with their own experiences. Dozens of men have attempted to visit the mountain, but none ever made it back. Men, their horses, and entire herds of cattle have gone missing from this mountain. Infamous criminals ran into the mountain and caves to escape law enforcement and were never found, despite intensive searches of the surrounding areas. Even the trackers that were sent in to find missing people also disappeared. There was only one case of a police officer who returned, but he was so distraught and unhinged that he was unable to ever give a report on it. It is nicknamed the Bermuda Triangle of northern Queensland, as no one can fully explain what happens there. People who live nearby report eerie sounds that occur, especially during the night. When the wind blows through the rocks, it sounds like people or spirits screaming. When it rains and the rocks break down and fall, it sounds as if an explosion has just gone off. Some theories say that it is a man-made pyramid as it is located on one of the meridian points on our planet. In reality, it is just hard granite that was formed underneath the Earth's surface and was gradually exposed as the surface above it eroded. Weather shaped the rock into boulders and created deep fractures and cliffs. The dark colour of the rock is also due to the blue-green algae that grows on it. Despite knowing how the rocks were formed, there is still no concrete explanation for all the missing persons. It is an extremely dangerous hike to get to the top of the mountain. It requires you to jump from rock to rock, where any misstep can cause you to fall. The indigenous people dislike it when adventurers come to hike the mountain, as they don't show any respect for it. If you want to visit it, you should take a guided tour led by the indigenous clans so that they can teach you about the cultural significance of it. Most people don't believe in the spirits that haunt the mountain, but they are still wary of the mountain. Some superstitions cannot be ignored. There is just something about Black Mountain that unnerves people. Joe Pitchler. This American child star had a bright future ahead of him. Joe Pitchler disappeared on January 5th, 2006, aged only 18. Born into a family of 5, Pitchler spent his formative years in Los Angeles chasing his young acting dreams, having begun acting at only 4 years old. As a child, he accomplished several notable roles in TV shows and in movies such as the Beethoven franchise and films like Children on Their Birthdays and Varsity Blue. Pitchler returned to his hometown of Bremerton, Washington in 2003 because his family wanted him to live near them. He graduated high school in Bremerton in 2005, after which he allegedly planned on continuing his ambitions and returning to LA. Pitchler took his acting career seriously, publicly straying from substances. He had dreams of being a movie star as young as 14 years old, knowing precisely what he wanted in life, which was to someday win an Oscar. Despite living in his hometown, Joe Pitchler lived alone on the other side of town from the rest of his family. Friends who claim to have seen Pitchler last say he was in good spirits when he spent time with them right before he vanished. Pitchler's car, a 2005 Toyota Corolla, was discovered several days later. His family reported him missing 11 days after his disappearance. The last call from his phone was said to have gone out at 4:08 a.m. to one of his friends who claimed he visited earlier. Joe's family say they found a letter in his car but refused to categorize it as a note of taking one's life. The letter allegedly mentioned Pitchler's desire to have his belongings given to his younger brother and that he wanted to be a stronger brother. The case lead detective stated, "There's a good indication that it might have been suicide, but we don't know that." There was no suspicion of foul play involved despite his family's belief otherwise, who are convinced he would not have taken his life. His case has frustrated detectives for over 2 decades, with no conclusion in sight. By all means, it seems Joe Pitchler dissipated into thin air without a single trace. His mother stated about his move from LA to Washington, "I just wanted him to have some normalcy in his life. He's a good boy and took it well, but he wasn't really happy about it." His brother Matthew believes he wanted to start over, whilst his mother argues there was no goodbye in regard to her dismissal of the note as to him taking his own life. His family additionally stated that his apartment door was unlocked and the lights were on, which they found greatly unusual. The police, despite the family's insistence on something amiss, chalked it up to Pitchler jumping from a nearby bridge. His mother recalls, "He said, 'I don't know how to say this to you without sounding really bad. But basically, I think your son's dead, and it could take months for him to show up in the water.' But this claim was heavily opposed by the detectives, who retorted they were keeping an open mind regarding scenarios of what might have happened to him, but that they had doubted the theory of foul play. The family believed the police did not work hard enough. Kathy, Pitchler's mother, claims the police have not fingerprinted his car. They sifted through it. They were in his apartment for about 3 minutes. They've done nothing. Hundreds of people attempted to assist in the search for Pitchler, coming to Bremerton after the disappearance was reported, but not a single person found any sign of him. Since 2006, there have been no leads or clues as to what became of Joe Pitchler. It is unknown whether he is still alive or deceased, and why was his car abandoned, or what he was doing at the time of his vanishing, but his body has never been found. The disappearance of Bart Schleyer. Bart Schleyer was an avid outdoorsman and had completed a master's degree in wildlife biology. After he finished his degree, Bart worked for Fish and Game and the interagency Grizzly Bear Study Team in Montana. His job, along with the rest of his team, was to study grizzly bears' reaction to coming across humans in the wild. During his research, he would camp out in the wilderness for sometimes months at a time. On these trips, he would pack meat as grizzly bait and cable used for foot snares. Bart Schleyer practically lived outdoors, always wanting to study and be in the wilderness. He would use bow and arrows and was very experienced as a whole. The 14th of September 2004 was Bart Schleyer's last known contact with a float plane that had dropped him off in Canada's Yukon Territory. For this trip, Bart left carrying enough food for 2 weeks, an inflatable raft, and camping equipment. 2 weeks later, the same plane returned to pick Bart up, but he wasn't there. After being officially reported missing on the 30th of September, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police initiated a full-scale search and rescue, but didn't find Schleyer. only some food at his camp, and his inflatable raft was found half a mile away from his campsite. With the weather turning severe in the area, the police believed Bart hiked up to the nearby highway. After this disappointing conclusion, a friend of Bart Schlayer, Dib Williams, and pilot Wayne Curry decided to fly out to the camp after the search was over to investigate further. They then found Bart's tent along with his backpack, radio, bear repellent, and a knife. Not believing that Schlayer would leave all this equipment behind and getting more worried for Schlayer's well-being, Williams, accompanied by Warner Curry, set out the next day to continue their search. After finding Schlayer's bow and arrows and a camouflage face mask with blood on, they decided to call the Royal Canadian Mounted Police back to search the area and investigate further. The police, as well as Yukon conservation officers and other volunteers, ventured back to the area on the 3rd of October. Around 60 meters or so from the location the bow and arrow was found, some clothing, a camera, and part of a skull were found. The skull was identified as that of Bart Schlayer, though no more of his body was found. Grizzly bear droppings found in the immediate vicinity led to the theory that Schlayer was the victim of a grizzly bear attack. However, conflicting opinions and lack of clothing found with bone fragments in the droppings, the fact that bears usually bury kills and no sign of a struggle led to skepticism of a bear attack being the cause. In addition, those who knew him believed he was too experienced in the wilderness to be caught off guard, and the fact that if it was a bear attack, his nearby camp would likely have been raided by the bear for food too. Furthermore, bears normally go for the head when attacking people, and no tooth marks were found on his skull. The disappearance of Sharon Buisse. On May 23, 2014, Sharon Gay Buisse disappeared from the Mount Roberts Trail in Alaska. She was last seen at 9:30 a.m. that morning at the Alaska Marine Line store in downtown Juneau. The 48-year-old was hiking solo and had not notified any friends or family about her plans. She was supposed to meet with a friend the next day at 8:45 a.m. to go hiking together, but failed to show. After some time, she was reported missing, but troopers have not found any clues of her whereabouts to this day. Sharon Buisse was a physical therapist working for Juneau Physical Therapy and had lived in Juneau for a decade by the time of her disappearance. She also ran a side business where she sold orthopedic office chairs. She was shipping out 2 chairs at Alaska Marine Lines the day that she went missing. Buisse was an experienced hiker and had recently returned from Greenland, where she went ice camping. She had even biked from Alaska to Canada at one point and enjoyed running, kayaking, and playing hockey. Buisse was always active, so her longtime hiking partner was very confused when she did not show up that morning. Buisse owned an emergency GPS, but left it at home that day along with her overnight backpack. Police assumed her cell phone was with her, but it was most likely turned off as the phone company could not ping its location. Ann Johnson called the police and filed a missing person report after Buisse failed to show up for their Hawthorne Peaks hike. Feeling uneasy about the situation, Johnson drove around that evening to various trailheads looking for Buisse's car. She eventually found it parked at Mount Roberts Trailhead at 9:30 p.m. on May 24, 2014. The search began at 1 a.m. on May 25th and covered the entire Mount Juneau trail system and backcountry over 4 days. The U.S. Coast Guard, Alaska State Troopers, Southeast Alaska Dogs, and the Alpine Club all joined the search and rescue alongside her family and friends. The Coast Guard even brought in a helicopter to use FLIR thermal imaging and night vision to find her, but were unsuccessful. The search team utilized aerial support wherever the ground was too dangerous for searchers to explore, such as ravines or ridgelines. A search dog picked up her scent near the Mount Roberts Trailhead parking lot after a few days. But that was it. The search lasted only 4 days before the state troopers called it off, much to the dismay of Buisse's loved ones. The searchers had covered so much ground and double-checked everywhere that they were confident she was not there. Over the next few months, occasional leads would turn up and give them hope, such as a hiker who reported a bear and a decaying odor, but nothing ever panned out. Some groups conducted additional search attempts around the trail and the abandoned mine shafts nearby, but never found any evidence suggesting Buisse's presence. They have combed through that trailhead so often that it is surprising they have not been able to find anything. The police and troopers explained that Buis might have gotten lost or injured in an area inaccessible to ground searchers. Another theory is that she was attacked by an animal, although they found no evidence of that. Another idea was that she was a victim of foul play. Her car was at the trailhead, but did she even make it up onto the trail? The police never managed to find information about Sharon Buis's disappearance, so it remains an open case 7 years later. The disappearance of Bruno Manza. On May 25, 2000, Swiss environmentalist Bruno Manza disappeared in the Borneo forests and has never been seen since. He was declared legally deceased 5 years later, as there was no sign or evidence of him found. He was 45 at the time and had spent the past 10 years fighting the Malaysian government and logging companies on behalf of the Penan, the indigenous jungle nomads of Borneo. Manza wanted to live a life without consumerism, capitalism, and technological advancements. As a young adult, he refused the Swiss military draft and served a few months in jail. He then moved to the Alps to work as a cow and sheep herder and learned how to make his own tools and food. He became enchanted with this type of simple living. Switzerland was not enough for him, so at 30 years old, he travelled to Borneo. He soon learned about the Penan nomadic tribes and decided to try and find them and live with them. After searching the dense Sarawak jungle in Malaysia, he finally came in contact with them in May 1984. After some time, the Penan accepted his presence and he began to learn their language and culture. He grew out his hair into their traditional mullet, wore a loincloth, walked barefoot, and even hunted with a blow dart. The Penan nicknamed him Laki Penan, which means Penan Man. They respected him and considered him one of their own. The politics in Borneo grew more complicated and aggressive, as the government backed the logging companies who were destroying the forests and desecrating sacred lands. The deforestation contaminated their drinking water, significantly reduced the vegetation and game, and limited the tribe in their movements. Mansa began to work alongside the Penan in their attempts to thwart the loggers. Over the next decade, he would go back almost every year to visit the tribe, usually by illegally crossing the border out of Indonesia to get to them, and would assist them in their battle with the loggers. He travelled the world and held lectures, protests and strikes to garner attention to the Penan's plight. He set up a fund to give aid to the indigenous people in the forest, and the cause eventually gained notoriety around the world. Politicians and leaders around the world condemned the deforestation, which angered the Malaysian government. They denied him entry and put a bounty on his head when he swam across the border at night. He was enemy number one of the state and escaped capture numerous times by using a fake passport and changing his appearance, running away while an officer was distracted, and using the rivers and forest undergrowth to hide. In February of 2000, Mansa began his last trek to the Sarawak forest. He first travelled with the secretary of his fund, BMF, and a film crew. After a while, they left, and he continued with a different friend for a few weeks until they arrived at the Sarawak-Kalimantan border. Mansa, aided by a local guide, crossed the border on the 22nd of May. The last known sighting of him was on May 25th, when a local Penan and his son journeyed with him to the mountain Bukit Batu Lawi. Mansa intended to ascend the mountain alone. Searches and expeditions were conducted by Penan teams and members of the BMF, but to no avail. There were conspiracies that the Malaysian government ended his life, but those close to him believe he either fell down the mountain or took his own life. After his disappearance, he was awarded the International Society for Human Rights Prize and had a new species of goblin spider named after him. 10 years after his disappearance, a memorial service was held in Basel, Switzerland, to which 500 people attended. There have been films and books made about his story. The strange disappearance of Alfred Beilharz. It was a warm summer day in 1938 when the Beilharz family decided to go fishing at Estes Park, Colorado. They had been camping in the Rocky Mountain National Park over Independence Day weekend for their summer vacation. What they expected to be a lovely and fun family outing soon turned into a nightmare that they never woke up from. On July 3rd, 1938, at approximately 8 a.m., the youngest Beilharz child, Alfred, mysteriously disappeared. The family was camping about a quarter-mile west of the Fall River Lodge with family friends. The campsite was situated near Horseshoe Falls, where the Roaring River and Fall River intersect. That morning, the Beilharz family made plans to go fishing. They were hiking together on a trail that ran alongside the Roaring River. As the trail they were hiking on was narrow, the family formed a single line as they walked. Little Alfred Beilharz was the youngest of 10 children in the family. Only 4 years old at the time, Alfred made up the rear of the line. His parents and 9 older siblings were all ahead of him, so no one noticed when he fell behind the group and vanished. After realizing he disappeared, his family desperately searched the area for him. Unsuccessful, they anxiously called in the park rangers for assistance. Ranger Mumor at the Fall River Ranger Station immediately contacted the Civilian Conservation Corps, a work relief program implemented by President Roosevelt's New Deal. Over 100 CCC members showed up to help in the search and rescue. The Rangers assumed he had fallen and drowned in the creek, so they focused their search there. They dammed the creek by setting up sandbags, rocks, logs, and even a fence with barbed wire, but no body turned up. They also dragged the river for almost 6 miles, as there was no way for his body to have been carried downstream past all the searches and obstructions. The Rangers stopped searching the river. There was a potential sighting of him by fellow hikers in the national park. On Sunday, July 3rd, William J. Eels and his wife were hiking up the old Fall River Road. While taking a break, they looked up at Mount Chaplin and saw a young boy sitting on a ledge along the mountainside. According to the couple, he made a loud noise before either abruptly leaving or being pulled back. This section of the mountain was 6 miles west and almost 3,000 feet higher in elevation from where Alfred had vanished from. The couple reported this to the Rangers a day later, but nothing was found by the time investigators arrived. Alfred's parents were convinced that he had been abducted. They argued that he would never just walk off and leave his family, and they were very doubtful that he had fallen into the creek. The searchers moved their focus onto land and brought in bloodhounds, but to no avail. They picked up a few scents, but quickly lost them at a fork in the path and at the water. After 10 days, the search was eventually called off. There were hoax ransoms and a claimed sighting of him with a man in Nebraska, but no concrete leads. 82 years later, Alfred Beilharz is still missing. His case is no longer being investigated. But what do you make of these mysteries and disappearances? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.
Twitter on fire after laying off 3,700 workers.
So I think it's safe to say that Twitter is pretty much on fire right now, and there are a lot of different articles swirling around out there. They're kind of confusing.
Well, fire's hot, and Twitter's definitely hot. They said it's the highest amount of engagement Twitter's ever had. I'm not surprised. I think everybody's just waiting to see what's going to happen.
Getting sued because he broke the WARN Act. Oh, JK, no, he's not. So I did the research, and I kind of wanted to catch everyone up on the timeline of Twitter and how it's pretty much just gone down. I guess it just depends on who you ask, but yeah, he's free to do whatever he wants. He owns the company. I'm not saying he shouldn't, but this is just some research to get you up to speed with how everything at Twitter has gone down so far, and it's hilarious. So on October 27th, the deal finally went through. And as soon as Elon bought Twitter, he fired the CEO, the CFO, the general counsel, and the trust and safety person. As soon as he did that,
I mean, if you bought the company and you think they don't fucking know what they're doing, wouldn't you do the exact same thing? I feel like with many company takeovers, the entire executive suite gets axed. Like this happened with my dad's company before. Yeah, you wipe it. Yeah, it's not even super surprising. You could have expected that. Yeah, it's like Game of Thrones. Yeah, exactly. It's Game of Thrones.
rumors started swirling around about layoffs in the company Slack on blind.com, but he didn't lay anyone off just yet. He says everyone needs to work 12 hours, 7 days a week.
Twitter staff have been told to work 84-hour weeks, and managers slept at the office over the weekend as they scrambled to meet Elon Musk's tight deadlines, reports say. Yeah, I could have pretty much expected that.
Week to get the new feature.
This is the same shit he did with Tesla and with SpaceX. Yeah, this is how he does things.
And by new feature, I'm talking about the $8 a month verification check mark.
Right.
So after Elon ordered
How many of you guys bought the check mark? Yeah, be honest. Be honest. How many of you guys did it? Me, not me, nope, not me. I'm about to, Lamau, I'm about to. Okay, so it's looking like maybe like 20-30% of people that are responding. So that's pretty good. Maybe if I say maybe it's a little bit closer to 20, 15 or so. Just by like looking at this. I think that why though, and that's the thing, is that you have to have more value adds. It's like, for example, Amazon Prime. You have so many value propositions with Amazon Prime. So it's like the WoW sub. Like having classic WoW attached to the WoW sub is a value add. So it's like you don't just get regular WoW, you also get classic WoW. Well, whenever you buy Amazon Prime, you don't just get Amazon Prime, you also get Twitch Prime. And you also get fucking the Amazon movies and shit. So the more things that you can add into it, the higher the value proposition is. And with Twitter, right now, the value proposition is a check mark. This is not a very good value proposition for a lot of people.
Everyone to start working on that blue check mark, we started to see some things about the company morale and how things were working out on the day-to-day there. So here's a picture. This picture was shared by an employee named Evan Jones, who works at the products department of Twitter. The person in the picture is his boss, who is seen sleeping on the office floor. So this is a pretty clever plan. They tell everyone that they have to come in and work all day, every day, and if they don't like it, they can quit. I'm assuming that's what some people did. Then he avoids having to pay those people unemployment. So obviously this indicates a great work-life balance at Twitter, and things are obviously going swell. Employees were actually asked by their managers to work extra hours to meet the deadlines, and they've also been asked to justify their work, their team's work, and the value they add to the company.
I think that's very fair. Like working 84-hour weeks, yeah, this is crazy. But like basically, yeah, why are you here? Please explain why you are here, what you do. I think it's common sense. Yeah, of course that's what people are going to do. Many companies do this, like restructuring. Lamau, why? Because sometimes whenever you have your vision of the company, and then this person tells you, well, I do this thing, well, that's not part of the vision, so they're out. Yeah, Office Space. Well, I take things to the engineers, to the developers. Well, I'm a people person. Engineers aren't people. I have to take them. No, oh, why can't they just take it directly to the engineers? Yes, exactly.
They've also been asked to justify their code, and Elon even brought Tesla engineers to review Twitter software engineers' code, which is his right. He's the owner. He could be like, what do you do for me? How do you make me money? Which is not the typical way people do things, but now this was...
I think it kind of is. I feel like especially like a reevaluation of a company in terms of like restructuring and everything, like I don't think that's super uncommon. The 84-hour work week, this is nuts, but the other two are not.
Before he announced any official layoffs. All this is happening, people are working 12 hours a day without any confirmed layoffs. Has it already started? Happy layoff eve. This was before the official layoff happened.
Yeah, you find out you're fired whenever your account password has been changed.
Day before, and there was
Surprise!
no communication to anyone. People just started getting locked out. Slack was closed. They couldn't access their code anymore.
Yeah.
People just started getting locked out. Yet there's still no communication from anyone telling them what's
They
happening.
did this at my dad's company where like they restructured. There was like 800 people in a company. They brought 50 people into an office room and they told them that everybody who's not in the office room is fired. And they brought in the police and like security guards to escort all 750. Like, I don't know about the numbers exactly, okay? But it's something like this, like all 750 other people, get them the fuck out of here. We're just going to have these guys and that's it. So yeah, this is not an Elon Musk only thing. I'm not saying that it's good, but I do think that an evaluation of, you know, like, so what do you do here? I think that's kind of fair. I do.
So you can kind of guess what's going to come next. Elon decides to fire roughly 3,700 people all at once on the spot, which
Boom.
violates the WARN Act, which is the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification, which basically says if you lay off over a certain amount of employees without any notice, you have to pay them 60 days. So you either have to give them 60 days notice or you have to...
Oh, he did pay them. My understanding is that he did pay them. Am I wrong about that? Because I remember reading that he said that he did. He's paying them 60 days. He pays them till February. Yeah. He gave them 90 days? That's a lot. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did see that. He is pledged. Yes, he's pledged to pay them for 90 days.
pay them. And when he fired everyone, there was no communication about severance packages. People were just getting fired left and right.
Yeah.
And so that's why you saw articles
the
saying
Red
that
Wedding.
Twitter's being sued for violating the WARN Act. It's funny because they actually preemptively sued Twitter ahead of time, banking on the fact that he was going to violate the WARN Act and fire everyone.
Right.
Typically what happens with companies that
Good call.
violate the WARN Act, that don't give any notification, they end up paying the money.
Yeah,
However,
that's what they
if
did.
you don't go asking for that money, if you don't go looking for that money, companies aren't going to come to you and be like, yeah, we know we fired all of you. Here's your money. Now, we've
Oh,
actually
yeah.
seen this with Better.com.
Yeah, because they can save money. It's the same as like how these companies want you to forget that you have like a subscription to their website. That's why everybody wants you to have subscriptions now. It's because people forget about their subscriptions.
He was going to give everyone 4 weeks of severance after he fired the 900 people, but then after people started looking into lawsuits, they were like, you know what? We're going to give everyone 2 months severance because we're just so generous and we care about our employees, but really they just were
It's for the
giving
law.
the legal minimum
Yes.
required to, you know, not get punished.
That's like whenever Walmart tells you how much they care about you because they pay you 7 cents above minimum wage.
companies don't
They're like,
they don't
"We don't
really
come in
care
and pay
about
minimum
this. They're not
wage
going to
here, okay?"
prioritize the WARN Act. They're just going to
Yeah.
cut costs wherever they have to and then think about what that cost them later. Once Elon fired all of these people, obviously some people were looking into like, hey, I didn't get a notification, you violated the WARN Act. But then Elon put out a tweet that said, regarding Twitter's reduction in force, unfortunately, there is no choice when the company is losing over
there it
$4 million.
is.
Yeah, I get it. You can do whatever you want. You're losing money. I don't expect you to just lose money and, you know, into the ground. Like, you got to do what you got to do, I guess. He says everyone...
I think it could, I mean, like, both of these things are true, right? Is like, it sucks for all those people who lost their job. It absolutely fucking sucks for them. Because a lot of them, yes, they might not necessarily fit into Elon Musk's vision of what Twitter is going to be. However, these people could have come to work every day and did what they were asked to do and tried to do a good thing, and they lost their job. That sucks. Absolutely fucking sucks.
exited was offered 3 months of severance, which is 50% more than legally required. There were some
So
people
he
out
did
there that
pay
were
them
saying,
more.
wow, 3 months of not having to work straight into the holiday season sounds nice to me.
That's nice.
And I mean, they're Twitter software engineers, Twitter employees. I'm sure it won't be too difficult for them to go someplace else, but it still sucks
Maybe.
when people get let go. After he fires the 3,700 people, the next day they realize, wait,
Keep in mind, they also have to compete with 3,700 other people for those new jobs.
we might have needed some of those people. So here's a tweet from Casey Newton. From the Slack at Twitter, it says, sorry to @ everybody on the weekend, but I wanted to pass along that we have the opportunity to ask folks that we fired, I like how they say that we're left off, if they will come back. I need to put together names and rationales by 4 p.m. on Sunday. So people were let go before management even realized that their work and work experience may be necessary to build the new features that Elon Musk is envisioning.
Yeah, that was a really bad one. Like, that's like whenever you kick somebody out of a raid, like you kick a healer out of a raid, and you spend like a half hour in trade chat trying to find another healer, and you can't, and you have to re-invite them, and it's like, right, let's just, can you please get out of the, can you just please get out of the fire this time, please? Like, let's just fucking get this done, please. You know, ego will kill him. Well, I mean, I would argue that telling everybody, they're like, yeah, I fucked up on firing a few of you guys. Yeah, it's my bad. I think that's kind of like I would say that's the opposite of ego. But overall, it's intentional, so they can renegotiate their salary and benefits. Elon's smart to make a mistake like that. So he fired them so he can rehire them again at a lower amount of money. I like that. Yeah, that's probably actually true. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, I think that's actually true.
Which brings me to one of the comments from the last video from Sir Hamsterlot, where he was talking about how your boss and your company knows your job better than you do. He said employers know what each individual provides. That's literally their job and what drives their decisions on who to promote and give bonuses to. Well, Sir Hamsterlot, you have been proven a fool. Clearly, this is not the case. How do you fire someone and go, oh wait, we might need them? If I was still employed at Twitter right now, I'd be looking for a new job because Elon...
I think that in general, that's probably true. Like, that is probably true in most cases, that the company probably has a better idea of somebody's value than the person themselves. And I would say, if nothing else, a differently biased view. Sure, of course.
Is going to do whatever he has to do to make that company profitable and, you know, make it the platform for freedom of speech or something like that. But I'd probably be looking for a new job because the way communication seems to be handled at Twitter does not seem to be in the...
I definitely agree with that. Bad take, terrible take. I mean, you see these companies, they fire a bunch of fucking people, then they're making more money. How do you think that happens? How do you think that happens? Like, technology is evolving constantly. Remember how they used to have like fucking 8 or 9 different checkout lines open? And now there's like 1 and everything else is self-checkout and those other 7 people are not having a job now? Well, it seems like these companies are doing great. So yes, I would trust the people whose job it is and entire fucking function in the company to evaluate the company more than the person inside of their own job to evaluate it. It's common sense. Quicker than we think too. Yeah, exactly. We've been there's a lot of employees just coasting, doing barely what's required. Well, it's hard to say. I don't want to make a statement like that. I mean, maybe there were some people like that, maybe not. But I do think he makes a good point here, where it's like, okay, you know, if you see everybody else getting fired and you have some, you know, some boss who's just fucking out of control doing crazy shit, you can't predict it, then yeah, abso-fucking-lutely, you'd want to look at a new job or have something on the back burner, you know?
Boy's favorite.
That's some corporate capitalist bullshit. You're getting mad about, man, people not happy about that opinion I have. That like other random fucking workers, some like random assembly line worker is not going to have as better of an understanding as the person who designs the assembly line. Yeah, look, I mean, think whatever you want, but I mean, there's a reason why these companies keep doing it.
At all, so I'd probably be on the way out.
Reality.
Another fun fact that's been happening recently is Twitter has lost a decent user base. They've lost advertisers since the Elon Musk takeover, and then there was this tweet that went out.
I don't think that I don't think that there's been any evidence that I've seen that Twitter has lost any users. As far as I know, is there any evidence of that? Elon claims the usage is up. I think that you could logically assume that the usage of Twitter is up because everybody is talking about it. It does not even necessarily mean that Twitter is doing better. It just means that everybody is talking about it. It's the same thing. Everybody's always talking about Donald Trump, right? Even after he lost the election, they're all talking about him. It's the same thing. People just want to know what you're going to do next, what's going to happen next. But they have lost advertisers.
from Mike Davis that says, you have nearly 114 million followers. Name and shame the advertisers who are succumbing to the advertiser boycott so we can counter boycott them and get your $8 monthly subscription going ASAP so we can start to make up for lost revenue now. And Elon says, thank you. A thermonuclear name and shame is exactly what will happen if this continues. So does that mean he's about to just be like, here's a company that pulled out of Twitter, here's a company that pulled out because of this and this and this, and pretty interesting. I don't know what the legal ramifications are of a obfuscated maybe threat or implication of saying something like this, but that seems...
I think you can never rely... Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that kind of stuff. It's like if you're an advertiser and you drop somebody at a, you know, the first sign that like there's anything that's going to go wrong because you're afraid that a few people are going to call the office that are angry that, you know, the person who runs it is like not agreeing with them. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that at all. It's up to you. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. It's the same as like anything else. I mean, if you want to pull out of a business deal, that's totally fucking fine, but it's not like nobody can criticize you for that. Bad-mouthing your ex-financers is bad business? Oh, it is until you're so important and so powerful that you can do that. And then it's okay.
pretty big. Now, the Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey, I guess, was
I
feeling...
don't think they're going to do that, by the way. I don't think that would happen. It would be, in my opinion, a bad judgment.
Left out of the spotlight, and he said, I realize many are angry with me. I own the responsibility for why everyone is in this situation. I grew
knuckles went white with desire. The wheels of his Mustang exploding on the highway like a slug from a 45. True death. 400 horsepower of maximum performance, piercing the night. This is Black Sunshine.
Life alone, in darkness, in seclusion. Yeah, I know. You've been out there, tried to mix with those animals, and it just left you full of humiliated confusion. So you stagger back home and wait for nothing. the solitary refinement of your room spits you back out onto the street. And now you're desperate and in need of human contact. And then you meet me, and your whole world changes. Because everything I say is everything you've ever wanted to hear. So you drop all your defenses and you drop all your fears, and you trust me completely. I'm perfect in every way. So I make you feel so strong and so powerful inside. You feel so lucky. But your ego obscures reality, and you never bother to wonder why things are going so well. You wanna know why? 'Cause I'm a liar! Yeah, I'm a liar! I'll tear your mind out! I'll burn your soul! I'll turn you into me! I'll turn you into me! 'Cause I'm a liar! A liar! A liar! A liar! I'll hide behind a smile and understanding eyes. And I'll tell you things that you already know, so you can say, I really identify with you so much. And all the time that you're needing me is just the time that I'm bleeding you. Don't you get it yet? I'll come to you like an affliction, but I'll leave you like an addiction. You'll never forget me. You wanna know why? 'Cause I'm a liar. Yeah, I'm a liar. I'll rip your mind out. I'll burn your soul. I'll turn you into me. I'll turn you into me. 'Cause I'm a liar. A liar. Liar, 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 liar.
for she knows not what she does. Across upon her bedroom wall, from grace she will fall. An image burning in her mind, and between her thighs. Dying gunman, full of pain. When will you come again? Before him beg to serve or please, on your back or knees. No forgiveness for her sins, prefers punishment. Would you suffer eternally or eternally? For her lust, she'll burn in hell, her soul done beating well. All through mass manual stimulation, salvation. Purpose mistake. Purpose mistake. Purpose mistake. Purpose mistake. Purpose mistake. Purpose mistake.
It's a prank, bro. You know what would have made this actually believable as a prank is if he pulled the weapon out of a chicken's asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course we're not going to take you seriously. You came in here packing a chicken.
He's fooling around. Yeah. He got the chicken.
Now sit here and eat it, and you'll learn your lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of crimes, you obviously don't need a gun to steal. And in fact, white-collar criminals regularly make off with more money using just the stroke of a pen than they ever would with a gun. Recently, a Florida man named Ralph Puglisi was sentenced to 10 years in prison for embezzling nearly $13 million from his job as an accountant for the University of South Florida over 8 years. And while it's kind of bizarre that that much money was able to be unaccounted for that long, what's more bizarre is how Ralph Puglisi chose to spend his stolen millions. Here's WFLA reporting on a motion Puglisi recently filed where he makes the case that he didn't personally benefit from most of that stolen money.
The filing also states his marriage lacked romance, prompting him to turn to a webcam performer with an adult website, My Girlfriend, for sexual gratification and companionship. The motion claims his virtual girlfriend manipulated Puglisi and said she was in love with him, leading him to believe that they were in an actual relationship. Puglisi was a big spender on the website, eventually paying the woman about $6 million, according to the motion.
Pay pig!
The motion states Puglisi concedes she sent him back about $200,000. The motion also states almost $11.5 million of the missing money was sent to My Girl Fund, and that the total made up 80% of all MGF profits for the time period.
Wow, he was a whale.
He was keeping the lights on at My Girl Fund.
Absolutely.
Single-handedly.
This, whoever he was talking to called him Pig Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pay up.
Pay up, pig.
Pay up, pig. Mm.
So the most conservative estimate is that he spent half of his stolen $13 million on cam girls, but Puglisi, in his own defense, says it was closer to 90% of the stolen money. Actually, you were off, but...
No, Your Honor, I'm much more of a pervert than you even think right now.
You got me. I'm going all in on this.
I got a problem.
Stealing is bad, especially when you're stealing from public institutions that do medical research, but you'd think most people with $13 million that they're not supposed to have would spend it differently. And this is like robbing dozens of banks and throwing most of the cash at strippers. But no, at least the strippers are all in the same room as you. It's actually more pathetic than that.
Yeah.
This is like robbing a crypto exchange and spending most of the money on Twitch bits for hot tub streamers.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, this gets a lot weirder the more you look into it. Here's the Tampa Bay Times from back in March. One of the adult websites Puglisi frequented, My Girl Fund, allows users to buy credits, then use them to pay people with profiles on the site. They can cash out those credits for real dollars at any point. My Girl Fund also is being sued by USF. According to a USF investigation, Puglisi visited the profile of a user on that site more than 2,800 times over a 2-year span. The user, Francisca Roman Ruth, went by the name YourGirl94 on the site, and now is believed to be married to Puglisi's stepson.
Ooh.
She also is a defendant in the USF lawsuit. Puglisi and Ruth are believed to have had an arrangement where she sent 60% of what she received back to Puglisi. At one point, according to the USF investigation, she mailed him a check for more than $18,000, resulting in a mail fraud charge for Puglisi.
Again, this is one of those stories where I have so many more questions now than I did before I even heard it. Because when did the stepson meet? At what?
It sounds like he was already dating her. And now they're married.
Well,
but
then in that case, it kind of sounds like money laundering.
Well, yeah, there was definitely money laundering involved.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it sounds like that more than just him being a pervert. It sounds like this was a plan.
Sounds like it worked out. It killed two birds with one stone.
When it's 80% of the company's profit, you got to kind of look at the company too as
Yeah, and that's why the company is being sued as well.
Yeah.
It's an interesting case.
At face value, this seems extremely sketchy and in a very low way perverted, but perverted in a way that just happens to be incestual.
I like to think he was already spending money on the cam girl stepdaughter, and then just kind of accidentally figured out that he could also launder money this way.
Yeah, it just started out as a fetish for his son's wife first.
I should probably launder this money.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know if this makes it more or less pathetic, but yeah, it sounds like this guy was spending most of the money on his stepson's fiance, a cam girl, who, in addition to providing an online girlfriend experience for this sad old man, also helped him launder the money. And I would be willing to bet there might be some kind of physical relationship between the father and her as well.
I don't know.
If they're talking for hours on there.
But why even use the cam girl site then?
To launder the money.
I don't know. I think...
He's an old school businessman. He's like, look, you're doing a service. You should be paid for it.
but he's already doing the pay pig thing. Like, I think he might, he might get off on this girl being like, no, online only. You pay now. I will not meet in person. I'm engaged to your stepson.
Whatever. His name
Who I
is
love.
Pig Lisi.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got the headlines half of the show coming right up. But first, this episode is sponsored by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit.
The holidays are just around the corner, and HelloFresh makes this busy time of year easier than ever with chef-crafted recipes and pre-portioned ingredients delivered right to your door, so you can spend less time meal planning and prepping. With over 35 weekly recipes, there's something to please everyone. You can also easily customize your recipes by swapping proteins or sides, upgrading to choice proteins, or even adding protein to a veggie meal.
We're big fans of the hearty autumn meals that HelloFresh offers around this time of year, and on next week's menu, they've got the Hall of Fame Thai coconut curry chicken with cilantro lime rice.
Delicious.
Which clocks in at just 30 minutes of prep and cook time and looks like it is sure to.
HelloFresh sponsored by All Seen That.
Get honey for free at joinhoney.com/weird. That is joinhoney.com/weird.
Thank you for sponsoring the show. Now it's time to get into the craziest, weirdest, wildest headlines from around the world this week, starting with the McDonald's gaming chair comes with a fries holder and burger warmer.
That's how you know you're an elite gamer.
I'm
not even taking a break to eat McD's. It's just built into the chair. And this chair apparently uses some form of synthetic leather that is grease resistant.
Oh, well, that's good because it would look disgusting in no time.
Yeah, you ever see some like fucking weeaboo's keyboard just covered in finger grease? No.
They need to have like an absorbent self-cleaning pad under it. So with your greasy fingers, you just wipe it under the seat.
And some like bounce pads built into the seat, so for all your burger farts get filtered out.
Yeah. Good stuff.
This is a stupid idea, but also McDonald's is really, they're getting to the point. They're saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
It's like, we know you're all disgusting little piggies.
Yeah,
So
gamers.
Here's a chair for you, you gamer piece of shit. And this chair is one of a kind. Like, you own this chair, you own a one of a kind piece of memorabilia.
I just want to say thank you to McDonald's for not making this an NFT. They are giving real things out now. These are things that people can use physically. Even if you know that you put fries there, you can put anything there.
Yeah, it's non-fungible.
Yeah.
It's one of also real. You can sit in it, unlike an NFT. You can't sit in an NFT.
We've come full circle. 1 year ago today, it would have been a Big Mac NFT. Now we're back to physical goods.
Yeah, this is way better.
Could you imagine just how sad a kid would be opening up a box of cereal because there's a toy printed on the outside, and what they've got on the inside of the box is simply a receipt for a toy on the blockchain.
Actually, it's a digital collectible. Boo! Attractive female students no longer earned higher grades when classes moved online during COVID-19.
This is, I don't know if it's surprising, but it's also kind of gross, and it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like necessarily like sexual attraction, or people might just be nicer in general to pretty women.
Yeah, putting aside any like thoughts about this going in a weird direction, I think typically that's already been studied where like more attractive people are treated differently.
It's the same, it's like similar like with men.
Show. Now it's time to get into the craziest, weirdest, wildest headlines from around the world this week, starting with the McDonald's gaming chair comes with a fries holder and burger warmer.
That's how you know you're an elite gamer.
I'm
not even taking a break to eat McD's. It's just built into the chair. And this chair apparently uses some form of synthetic leather that is grease resistant.
Oh, well, that's good because it would
Yeah.
look disgusting in no time.
Yeah, you ever see some like fucking weeaboo's keyboard just covered in finger grease? No.
They need to have like an absorbent self-cleaning pad under it. So with your greasy fingers, you just wipe it under the seat.
And some like bounce pads built into the seat, so for all your burger farts get filtered out.
Yeah. Good stuff.
This is a stupid idea, but also McDonald's is really, they're getting to the point. They're saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
It's like, we know you're all disgusting little piggies.
Yeah,
So
gamers.
here's a chair for you, you gamer piece of shit. And this chair is one of a kind. Like, you own this chair, you own a one of a kind piece of memorabilia.
I just want to say thank you to McDonald's for not making this an NFT. They are giving real things out now. These are things that people can use physically. Even if you know that you put fries there, you can put anything there.
Yeah, it's non-fungible.
Yeah. It's
But
one
it's
of
also
a kind.
real. You can sit in it, unlike an NFT. Can't sit in an NFT.
We've come full circle. 1 year ago today, it would have been a Big Mac NFT. Now we're back to physical goods.
Yeah, this is way better.
Could you imagine just how sad a kid would be opening up a box of cereal because there's a toy printed on the outside, and what they've got on the inside of the box is simply a receipt for a toy on the blockchain.
Actually, it's a digital collectible. Boo! Attractive female students no longer earned higher grades when classes moved online during COVID-19.
This is, I don't know if it's surprising, but it's also kind of gross, and it's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like necessarily like sexual attraction, or people might just be nicer in general to pretty women.
Yeah, putting aside any like thoughts about this going in a weird direction, yeah, I think typically that's already been studied where like more attractive people are treated differently.
It's the same. It's like similar like with men, it's height.
Mm-hmm.
Like you.
Well, we've been over this.
We've been over this a bunch, but yeah, like for every like half an inch taller you are than the average, like your average annual salary goes up by a certain amount. Yeah, it's unfair out there.
That's why Shibby's a billionaire.
Yeah, that's right. But you put everyone on Zoom, you know, it levels the playing field. I bet a lot of really attractive women, like COVID was especially hard for them. They're like, I can't see any of my friends, and also my grades are just terrible. Like I used to be an A student, suddenly I'm a B- in all my classes. I didn't change anything. What happened? Maybe it's that long COVID. Maybe I've got that brain fog. Nope. No. It's just you can't use that hot privilege anymore. Sorry, ladies.
We're judging on merit now.
Yeah.
14-hour days with no break and no bathroom. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos sued by his former housekeeper.
What is this guy's deal, his fetish with not letting people go to the bathroom?
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, now it's like before it's like, okay, he's doing it for efficiency purposes or just because he hates workers.
But he's removed from the process and just wants to be mean.
But the fact that he's doing it to his own household staff tells me that he gets off in some way on knowing that the people doing his bidding have a bladder full of piss that they can't empty out.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so strange because you would assume multiple guest bathrooms in whatever residence Jeff Bezos has.
Well, he's such a fucking piece of shit. I guess the one bathroom that the housekeepers were allowed to use was like it was like in the basement of like some second structure, and the only way they were
Grandma's basement.
The only way they were allowed to get there, like they weren't allowed to use the door to it. So they figured out they had to go climb out a window if they wanted to get to the bathroom. And they had very few opportunities to do so. They also, they didn't have any sort of break room to actually eat meals, so they just like ate on the floor. And they didn't have anywhere to even like sit. They weren't provided like anywhere to even rest their feet. Fuck you, Jeff Bezos. Also, they were racist. Like all of the Hispanic, Latino staff was treated much more poorly than the white household staff.
I'm not shocked. I feel bad. I'm not shocked.
And they were told to like stay out of sight. Like if Jeff sees you, like that's bad. He shouldn't see you. It's
not surprising, but also very bad.
Yeah. Let the people pee, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
This man, the hell that awaits Jeff Bezos is just everyone he ever wronged, just peeing on him simultaneously forever.
perpetually has to pee with no bathroom around.
Yeah.
His hell is trapped on the 405 having to take diarrhea shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legally blind Florida man arrested when cane is confused for a gun. The video of this is infuriating. It's like just I mean, you see this a lot in like body cam or whatever footage of just like cop logic where like clearly they have nothing on you and they're just giving you a hard time because they can, because they feel embarrassed.
As soon as they figured out that they have nothing, it immediately goes on the defensive and they try to find something. Yes, this is infuriating. And it's like, this is another example of like someone who's done nothing wrong and is obviously upset with his interaction with the police.
He's like, okay, well,
I haven't done anything.
You thought I had a gun. This is not a gun. This is a cane. So you have nothing. Can I go? And they're like, well, let's see your license. He's like, I don't want to give it to you. He's like, all right, well, you're not going to You're not going to give us a license. That's obstruction. I don't know. It's like they arrested this guy. Apparently, last I checked, he was having trouble finding an attorney, but that might have changed.
Because he's blind.
Right, yeah. How do I work computer? No, I don't know, but yeah, this is fucking bullshit. And the video is just so fucking annoying. Like, just fucking, don't you have better things to do? Like, there are probably crimes being committed right now, actual crimes. And you're just hassling this blind man for having the audacity to walk with a cane that he literally needs to get around outside.
He's fucking lucky they didn't just like kill him or something.
I know. I mean,
it's definitely happened with like deaf and blind people.
Well, there's a part where like he's blind, so like, or legally blind. I don't know how blind he is, but like there's a part where he pulls out the cane like really fast, and I was like, ooh. If he wasn't white and if he had done that, maybe standing a little closer to one of these cops, like that, they would have 100% just like emptied a clip into him. So, yeah.
Infuriating, as usual. El Paso high school students may have to retake SATs after tests fly out of UPS truck. Oops.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, wasn't there like a rumor that like someone was taking credit for this?
I don't know, but it's pretty brilliant because it's like it would suck to take the SAT 2 times, but like after taking it the first time, that's a practice test.
Yeah.
Like your scores are going to be higher, pretty much no matter what.
You start at the driving range before you go to the golf course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it would not surprise me if this was an inside job.
Yeah.
But who's to say?
Nobody's to say because no one should say a fucking thing.
Yeah. Keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah. You're going to learn more keeping your mouth shut than you'd ever learn on an SAT.
Come on, don't ruin this for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye West's worst nightmare is coming true. Adidas plans to sell Yeezys under new branding.
It's great because no one would buy them under the previous branding. They have to salvage it somehow. They own it, like they want to make money off of it. But also, it has the bonus added side effect of infuriating Kanye West.
Yeah, they should call
sideways laugh emoji.
They should call him something like the King David's
sleazies.
They should call him the Moses. Just something from that
really pisses him
Jewish
off.
Scripture.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he doesn't have he owns the patents to the Yeezy slides, which I guess are pretty popular. All of these fucking shoes look stupid to me. I'm not a sneaker person, and these are like especially just like why? But
when they first were released, I think both of us were just like they look like one of those boats that goes on land or whatever.
Yeah. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously.
They've done very well.
Obviously, I'm wrong and Kanye is right.
Yes.
But yeah, they're just gonna keep on selling them, and
they should just pass the license to like Payless.
Yeah.
That would be really funny.
Yeah, that would be a great like revenge too. Just completely devalue the existing Yeezy shoes by by selling the patents to Payless.
I guess it was a more extreme scenario, but I know that Fred Perry permanently halted production of the black shirts that alt-right people were wearing.
The Proud Boys shirt. Yeah.
So this is like, I mean, they have to do something because they're still kind of like, it is permanently tied to his brand.
Well, I mean, if they halt production completely, that just makes the existing ones more valuable. If they flood the market with Yeezys that don't have Yeezy branding on them,
sleazies.
I think that's, sleazies.
Yeah.
I think that's funnier.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. But either way, Kanye's probably upset about it. No matter how many sideways laughing emojis he wishes he could post.
So mad. U.S. hospitals are so overloaded that one ER called 911 on itself.
We need help.
And yeah, I didn't know about this, but there are multiple non-COVID respiratory illnesses going around. There's
RSV.
Yeah, a bunch of kids are like dying from some fucked up like little kid disease.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have children, so I don't hear about these things, but it's bad apparently, and it's clogging up the hospitals. And yeah, this one hospital they called 911 for themselves, and I love this. They called 911, and the local fire department sent down their whole squad to help like move beds and do all
That's
sorts
great.
of work. It's like imagine they call the local police department and ask for any fucking help at all.
Yeah.
Nothing. But
I still-
firefighters are good, and they understand their job is to actually fucking help the
There
public.
was about 6 months there where the firefighters, they went a little crazy.
See, the great thing is all the bad firefighters died of COVID.
Yes.
So now it's a clean slate.
Or lost their jobs.
The only ones that are left are good.
Yeah.
They're still bros, they're still knuckleheads, but they understand that the point of their job is not to like terrorize the public, but to actually help the public.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I think that's great. And it's just another wonderful example of that. So there you go. Norwegian princess quits royal duties to work with shaman fiance.
Yeah, I didn't know about this, but so she's not in line for the crown. She's basically the Prince Andrew of Norway. Just a great shame to the nation. Has for years marketed herself as like a psychic, like just all this supernatural shit. And the rest of the royal family's like, please don't use your actual royal title. In fact, we're gonna take your title away. And now she's marrying some shaman who sells some necklace that he says prevents COVID-19 on his website. Is that kind of so they're teaming up, but she had to quit her royal duties. She's like, no, I'm going all in.
Bad year for.
This is some shit that used to happen all the time. Rasputin being the greatest example, but 100 years or so ago, royal families across Europe were just getting swindled constantly by magic men.
And fucking each other.
And we're bringing that shit back.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. I love it.
FIFA rejects human rights for all message on Denmark training kits.
Yeah, they so the upcoming World Cup, which is what time of year is it? It's not summer.
Well, it's in December, so it must be it's
not in the southern. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's in Qatar, a country with notoriously bad human rights record, especially in the lead up to literally
building the stadium.
Building the stadium with slaves, like the pyramids before. But the Denmark team, they wanted kits that said human rights for all, and they're like, well, let's not get political. And they're like, how is it political to say that everyone should have human rights? They're like, well, you know. Can we not? Can we just not?
What a fucking train wreck of a World Cup already, and it hasn't even started. So I'm sure
This is like the pinnacle of why these global sporting events are actually like fucking evil.
Yeah, it's if nothing else, it provides a clear, concise example of why it's bad.
Because also, they won the bid for this. It was like 7 years ago, but it was total fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Like they bribed their way to getting the World Cup bid.
It was so funny, like the other day on the stream, when we were like finally coming around to being like, look, good for Logan Paul. He's had all that drama. He's made all of his mistakes. And now he's doing the WWE thing, which we'd seen for a long time coming. And it's like, look, he made it.
Yeah.
And then someone in the chat reminded us that he's in the Saudi Arabia-backed special, it's called like the Crown or whatever.
Oh, yeah. That was the event that he performed at.
So it's like,
the
of
Crown
course
Jewel.
there's a rub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, he lives in Puerto Rico and
To avoid like
drives
taxes,
to avoid taxes and drives his ATV over sea turtle eggs.
Yes, he hasn't learned too much, but
he's just dumb. Like, I bet if you explained why Saudi Arabia is bad to Logan Paul, he would just stare at you blankly and be like,
I
don't
don't know.
understand.
I think that he is more interested in the money
well, yeah.
because he's already been through so much where people he doesn't care at this point because he's still successful despite what people think.
They should get him, now that his like fucking body's all fucked up from that wrestling match, he should take up golf. It's a low impact sport, and then they can sign him to LIV.
Yeah.
The hot new golf league, which I can't remember who owns it, but they got a lot of big stars. All the stars are here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he could take that up.
Something to think about.
Yeah. And final headline, Tennessee voters officially ban all forms of slavery in the state.
They did it.
What year is it again? Also, this came with the all-time greatest, most surreal local news graphic we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Here is Fox 13 Memphis. You decide. slavery banned. It's
We did it, everyone.
incredible. This is like if Twitter existed in 1865, the exact same graphic would be on people's timelines.
Probably. Well, leading up to this, it would be like some cotton manufacturer's brand getting verified on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then saying that they were
We're
going
gonna
to
free all of our slaves. Like,
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Oh God! Oh, our stock's crashing.
Yeah. This is good news. It's a bunch of states banned the form of slavery that was still or is still legal under the U.S. Constitution, under the 13th Amendment. They're like, slavery is officially banned, except you can make prisoners do all the slavery you want. Actually, just keep that on the deal.
But they, of course, they would have to commit crimes in order to become prisoners.
So like four states banned that. I'm not sure how. There's probably loopholes, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too optimistic about it, but one state had slavery on the ballot, and they said, no, let's keep it. And that was Louisiana.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the graphic was worth it, I guess.
it was.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it for this week's episode of Weekly Weird News. If you have somehow missed the past week of Elon Musk and the election,
Boy, do we have content for you.
yes, in whatever order, before News Dump we did tech, which was a week of Elon taking over and kind of the rundown on everything that he's
Taking
done.
over and taking L's.
Yeah, up until the release, the first deployment of Twitter Blue. And then from there, we have News Dump, which it covers some election stuff, but then goes into the legitimate, hilarious abuses that were displayed on this website for 48 hours straight, causing massive financial harm to several companies and exposing a lot of the shortcomings, dare I say, evil doings of a lot of other companies.
And we talked about the fight brewing between Donald Trump and Ron Sanctimonious. It's getting very exciting. So all that content's over there. Please enjoy.
Yeah.
And we will see you soon for more content.
Yeah.
The content never ends.
Just do the, hi, 5,000 people, do the likes, comments, all
I
that.
think it might be, now we got the brave 6,000.
6,000?
Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah. Prove it.
Bye.
Bye.